Crucible Arms here. Say, I just got back from the Minnesota State Capitol Complex where I was able to attend the Senate hearings this morning regarding a new assault weapons ban that the Minnesota State Legislature has proposed and wants to put into place. I stood in line for 2.5 hours to be able to get a seat in the main chambers. There were 2 overflow chambers that evidently were completely full as well. Those get video feeds of the proceedings. But it was quite an honor to participate in our process and to be able to come in and give testimony regarding this important legislation. I was not able to give oral testimony. It ended up, the testimony went on much longer than it was originally scheduled to, but I was able to submit my testimony in writing. So it will become part of the record and hopefully somebody will read it. What was really heartening is I got there at 7:30 in the morning and the hearing didn't start till 10. I knew I was going to have to get there early because things were really packing out. The line was incredible for people to get in there, and what I can say is the overwhelming majority of people that were represented in that chamber as well as the overflow rooms were people who are upholding the Second Amendment rights of this country, of the citizens of this country. By far, I mean by far. We all had our stickers here, we all had our buttons, so we were able to identify each other, and there were also the opponents had some identification of their own, and overwhelmingly we turned out, and the grassroots effort is working. The American people are being heard. So after 2.5 hours, I did manage to get into the chamber room. Had a great seat. I'll show you a picture. I was on the aisle. And again, I wasn't able to give my oral testimony again because they had some great speakers, some really, really great speakers, so I don't feel badly about that at all. It was supposed to be about 2 bills. It was supposed to be about HF241, which is the assault weapon ban itself, and then it was also supposed to be about HF242, which is the magazine capacity limitation legislation that's out there. Because of the time and the commitment to the assault weapon ban, HF242 wasn't even talked about. That's going to end up being in a later hearing, as it turns out. Everybody agreed that was okay, because 241 at this point is a very important bill, as 242 will be, and it probably deserves its own session. The committee is run by DFL Representative Michael Paymeyer. He's the committee chair, and I have to give him credit where credit's due. He ran a great session, was very fair to both sides, and kept things in line and kept things moving. So hats off to Michael Paymeyer for making that happen. DFL Representative Alice Hausman is the one who authored this bill. So they started with the proponents of the bill giving testimony. So she sat down and she gave maybe about a 10-minute preamble into the testimony, and then she excused herself because she had to go to the Ordway Theater for a previous engagement that she had committed to. We never saw her again. She never came back. So it was a 2-hour and 15-minute hearing. She spent 10 minutes of it on a bill that she authored in the room and then left and delegated her responsibilities to a local activist. I found that really interesting. One, it means that either she isn't committed to this bill, which I find hard to believe because she spent a lot of time writing it, or 2, she realizes that it's dead on arrival. And what I mean by that is even if this were to get through committee and get to the floor for a vote, it doesn't stand a chance of passing. I hope I'm right about that. I'm not a politician and I'm not a soothsayer and I can't read the future. But when that kind of lack of commitment to your own bill shows up, it indicates that something's not quite right. So what did I think of the testimony that was given? Again, it was kept very fair. The chair, Representative Paymeyer, did a great job of keeping it equal. There were 45 minutes for and 45 minutes against this legislation allowed for testimony. And the time was split very evenly. What I can say is, and I'm trying to be objective and it's hard to be, but what I can say is the primary thrust behind the pro side of this argument, the people that are proposing that we implement this assault weapons ban, was largely based on emotion. There were anecdotal stories. There were some gun victim stories too, so I don't want to say that it was all anecdotal. But it really came down to a passionate plea for the saving of lives of children and citizens, which none of us are against that. What we're against is this being the mechanism that does that, because in fact it doesn't. So we did have a lot of emotional pleas from that side of the aisle, supported by a few facts, but not a lot. And again, I'm trying to be really objective about this. Then when the pro-Second Amendment people got their opportunity, one of which was me, in a written form, but when the oral testimony happened, it was supported with facts, figures. There was actually a physical demonstration. They had two 10-22 rifles there. One, and you all know this, right? One that was, warm wood, looks like something your grandpa would shoot. And then the other one that had the, all of the cosmetics of the assault weapon on it. Did a great job of describing to the body how they were both identical, and that the constant linking of fully automatic machine guns with semi-automatic rifles is doing our public a real disservice. So it was very, very well laid out. You were represented, Minnesota, you were represented very well by the speakers that gave testimony. I was really proud to be there. And I want to make sure that people realize that you can't let up, okay? We have a democratically controlled Senate, Congress in whole, and we have a Democratic governor. So we are actually more at risk of this going through than, say, even the federal legislation at the federal level. But the only reason that we feel it won't is we show up in numbers, we give facts and figures, we do it dispassionately, and I believe that together and through our continued efforts, we'll make sure that that legislation that doesn't do anything to deter gun crime and stop these heinous acts doesn't get through. And that's what the assault weapon ban does. It simply makes people, it's a placebo. It makes people feel safer when in fact they're not. So you can be really proud of the people that represented you, and I encourage you and urge you to write your senator, write your congressman, let your state representatives as well as your federal representatives know that this legislation, while well-intentioned, is absolutely ineffective. And what we really need to be concentrating on, and I'm seeing more groundswell behind it, are the mental health issues and the true core issues that need to be addressed. And there is more conversation around that, and there's more meeting in the middle on that. Taking the current laws that we have and enforcing them vigorously, including straw purchases, and also concentrating on the core effects of mental health and what can we do there to keep these crimes from happening. So, hey, my 2 cents worth. Hope I didn't bore you to death. Thank you very much for stopping by. Crucible Arms. Until next time.